Yes, hello, IRS. So, client bought $7,000 worth of Cum Rocket and staked it for 3 months to earn 69,000% interest. Then they sold and took the profits to invest in NFTs. But of course, the dev rugged the project and they only managed to liquidate 10% of the funds. Question is, can the client deduct gas fees for the minting and balance out the short-term capital gains taxes from the cummies? Hello? Welcome back to Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, where we discuss the biggest stories shaping the Bitcoin and cryptoverse. My name is Graham Stone, and I'm repping the hype function at Bitcoin.com. Until, that is, I'm replaced by an agentic KOL. I'm joined by news and research autist David Sensel, who is back in Japan, having survived the post-apocalyptic hellscape known as suburban Georgia, USA. And we are also joined by
hard.
Bitcoin. Yes, it was hard. That anecdote you had with the assault weapons on the highway, somehow that missed our last podcast. You might have to rehash that one this week. We're also joined by Bitcoin.com Supreme Commander Corbin Fraser, who is joining us as usual from his compound in the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, which I'm told is actually a bastion of unfettered capitalism. More on that, perhaps, in another episode. Happy New Year, everyone. It's the first episode of the year for Token Narratives. We got a big one here. We're going to be looking ahead into to 2025 with our top predictions on how the Bitcoin and crypto space will unfold this year. Stay tuned to the very end of our episode, which will be about an hour, because we'll also be offering our price predictions for some of the top assets. All right, let's get into it, gentlemen. Who wants to make the first prediction? Who wants to start us off?
I'm happy to dive in if you guys want. So I think my first prediction here is, well, we saw this, I think, we were all three of us were at Bitcoin Mena. This is the forefront of Bitcoin innovation, right? All of the Bitcoin crypto companies are there to, promote their latest Bitcoin developments, whether they're new product releases, latest news, latest updates, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I covered this briefly on our live Token Narratives update, that it was kind of surprising to see just not many people talking about Bitcoin layer 2s. But I think on crypto Twitter or crypto X, whatever we're calling it these days, it seems like the BTC L2 space or sidechain space has been like quite dominant in discussions amongst the crypto nerds. But my prediction is that Bitcoin L2 adoption wanes relative to like Ethereum L2 adoption, due to the majority of Bitcoiners being too basic or potentially too retarded to understand what a layer 2 is. I think the sad reality is that a lot of Bitcoiners are just very junior. They're in that early stage of their user journey. But worse than that, it seems like there's a lot of Bitcoin, like they would be considered OGs now because they may have joined in like 2017 or even 2020. There's people now that are saying that like if you're a 2020, you're like a 2020 OG now. But yeah, so if you've got these people that they've been in the Bitcoin space for a long time, and they've perhaps followed a little bit more of the maximalist side of things, but they haven't really progressed from being Bitcoin first to Web3 capable or Web3 natives. And I think on crypto X or crypto Twitter, most of us are probably degenerates. There's a lot of like, bridging and moving funds across different chains and like tapping into different, yields and things like that. But the large majority of Bitcoin usage, adoption, and support it really doesn't seem to be around any of these L2s. It's primarily just main chain L1 digital gold, hodl, hodl, hodl. They're still on this stack sats meme. And I think the Sailor bull posting kind of supports that. So you don't really have these like, I don't think we're going to see Bitcoin layer 2 adoption really take off. And that, and you know, I think because there's probably like 5 or 6, maybe 7 that I've seen competing for like this Bitcoin layer 2 narrative that's not Lightning. My guess is that it's going to centralize around maybe 2, maybe 3 of these different L2s, because there's just not enough users to go around that space, because frankly, the Bitcoin users are kind of too stupid to use layer 2s. They don't want to be onboarded into Web3. They're not really into, I don't know, like yield farming, or even the idea of earning passive yield on your crypto. It's like, when I spoke about some of these things to people at some of these Bitcoin conferences, they still associate Bitcoin yield to centralized interest opportunities like the Celsius, which was a scam, BlockFi, things like this that had these major issues. But they never went down the decentralized path for, staking contracts or LP or LP farming and things like that. So my take here is that Bitcoin layer 2s still going to wane in the next year. We're not going to see a giga explosion of like everyone's using an L2. I think it's going to be reserved for just a few nerds, and probably there's going to be more Bitcoin on Ethereum layer 2s than there will be on these so-called Bitcoin layer 2s.
Can we just back up for a second and maybe dive in a little bit to what is the use case of a Bitcoin L2? I guess maybe we could say there's 2 threads there, or 2 lanes. One is like just increasing the speed of transactions, like using Bitcoin on the L2. You can it doesn't cost you like $10 for a transaction. It doesn't take 30 minutes for it to go through. That's one use case. And the other, maybe we could classify as like BTC fi, like DeFi, where you're earning yield on your Bitcoin. So would that be a correct framing for what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably faster transaction settlement, lower fees, which would be a big one. Because I think there is still this narrative that people want to use Bitcoin. And I think for a lot of these somewhat more basic Bitcoin users, they are still just talking about it as like, well, in the future, it can be used as cash. Now, we haven't figured that out yet on layer 1, and we got Lightning, but it's not quite perfect. But we still like the idea of it, but we're not quite ready to do it. And then I think that's where this potentially solves that. I think the other thing that it does support, though, is like capital efficiency. Like right now, the price of Bitcoin is largely determined by the buyers and sellers on centralized exchanges. So the centralized exchanges, these like single points of failure, and granted, there's probably dozens of them at this point. So it's somewhat like a decentralized, or at least somewhat decentralized party of centralized actors that are maintaining the price of Bitcoin. I think in an ideal state, you would actually have the price of Bitcoin being determined by decentralized exchanges and a variety of decentralized exchanges instead of a variety of centralized exchanges, which perhaps can be manipulated, perhaps can be corrupt, perhaps, I don't know, don't adhere to the true ethos of Bitcoin and decentralization. And I think the BTC Fi or BTC layer 2s or whatever you want to call them, they provide more smart contracting capabilities and thus more opportunities to do things with Bitcoin beyond just digital gold, hodl, 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 stack sats, and Moon Lambo, sell for more fiat when it goes more. And it just, supporting this whole greater fool's theory of like dumping at a higher price on your friends or on some other asshole that's buying it.
Yeah, I would just like to,
right.
I would just say I agree with you 100%. I think I agree with this prediction. And I was thinking about making this my prediction, but I didn't. But yeah, I 100%
probably
agree.
I understand. This is a pretty good prediction.
Yeah, I know it's a really good prediction.
It's probably one of my best predictions. It's the only one I got. Don't steal it, David.
No, I didn't. But I just wanted for a little more, maybe a little more details diving into this, to make it a little more spicy. Do you have any? Can you predict what do you think will be the makeup of Bitcoin on other chains? Like, is it going to be like WBTC, TBTC, CBBTC? Are these going to be the main ones, or do you think it's going to be some other kind of thing breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably we will see different flavors of these like pseudo BTCs. Like I think you've got Babylon, which has been growing quite a bit in terms of deposits. I think there's probably going to a few other ones emerge, but yeah, I suspect it's going to become more fragmented, but there'll be a few key leaders, kind of in the same way that stablecoins. There's a dozen, maybe more different stablecoins, but in large part, there's Tether, and then there's USDC, and then there's like the long tail of other things. So I think it'll probably follow a similar suit where it's probably going to be like a CBBTC or a WBTC. Maybe you'll see some competition from some of the newer wrapped BTCs like TBTC from Threshold. So like there could be some folks taking a gun at some of the bigger ones, specifically if they have the capability to mint and unmint the pseudo BTC. So being able to take the raw Bitcoin on layer 1, deposit it into some sort of a threshold signature thing that then creates the, say, TBTC and gives you that access to say the world of smart contracts or EVM or things like that. So yeah, I mean, like those things could challenge some of the bigger centralized ones, but yeah, the sad reality is I think there's just still, despite FTX, despite Celsius, despite BlockFi, despite all of this stuff, people still like to defer to centralization for whatever reason. And, you could say CBBTC is better than WBTC, but it's still just a publicly held company, running that version. Is it better? I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, I had a short interview with I think the director of.
All right, let's get back to it because we're recording now. We can stitch this together. So,
All right.
where
So
do we
what I
leave
was
off?
saying.
Okay, just quickly, we obviously we had a technical difficulty here. We're back.
We can call it technical, but we could also call it a bit of a pilot error.
We had a
kind of hit the button. I hit the end session for all button.
we had a retard difficulty.
It was it's a common problem around here.
No, fair play.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I was saying.
Okay, so where were we? Yeah.
I was just gonna say something about WBTC.
Yeah, the makeup, the distribution. I think so.
Yeah,
based
these different.
We were talking about this prediction of Bitcoin layer 2s are probably going to wane relative to other L2s, and then you were asking about the makeup of these alternative Bitcoin flavors.
Yeah. So let me just ask you straight up: what is your prediction in terms of how the landscape will look a year from now? So, for example, during this downtime, we looked it up. Wrapped Bitcoin looks to be the clear winner here, and then I think you have like CBBTC, and then maybe TBTC, and it kind of tails out.
So WBTC has like 10 times the amount of Bitcoin wrapped into it as the next biggest competitor, which is Coinbase Bitcoin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you see this changing significantly? Do you have a prediction, Corbin, for this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a firm prediction, but I do think though that like the TVL of those, say alternative Bitcoin flavors such as WBTC or CBBTC or TBTC, that the TVL is not necessarily the best metric to go on. It's probably like transaction volume. It's probably a better metric to gauge whether one is successful or not. And I think that the TVL is the most likely thing to be duped, in terms of like manipulated or tinkered with, or, you really have to start trusting some of these proof of reserves and things like that, because very few people are actually going to go through the autistic, headache of verifying every address, trying to track down whether they're just updating this entry manually, or is this like an XPub that they publicly share that anyone can like confirm that they're held in an address, and confirm that that address is a multisig or is a threshold multisig, or some sort of time lock script thing that they've done. So I think like I mean, like right now WBTC is still the king. I do still think that the narrative may change because the tech has improved to a point where individuals expect to be able to mint and unmint Bitcoin layer 1 onto these alternative, whether it's a layer 2 or just bridging it onto ETH to have access to that underlying Bitcoin capital, and using it on DeFi applications and things like that. So I would say though that like because of that, we probably should see some competition heat up. I do, however, think that CBBTC and WBTC, they're just kind of like the old guard, in the sense that, even though CBBTC is new, it's trusted by this old guard company, and it's, verified by a public company. So in theory, you'll have people kind of trusting it a little bit more, because you could assume that a public company probably has maybe better security teams and audits done and things like that. But I mean, I think that the challenger alternative pseudo BTCs such as TBTC, and you've got like Lombard, you've got Solve BTC. I think those ones are going to be more, I'd say more on the progressive side, where they're going to be partnering up with more of the DeFi protocols and with more of the new exciting innovations on, that like crypto Twitter jumps on. However, I think that the majority of like the normie use case of just accessing Bitcoin or accessing yield probably going to be on just like a couple of the big ones. And like we were saying, it's probably going to be this long tail similar to stablecoins, where you've got like, a couple big dog stablecoins like USDT and USDC, and then a long tail of alternative stablecoins from there on out. So
yeah, I just think that the incentives for holding Bitcoin off of the main chain have to be quite significant for you to risk doing it, because like if it's 5%, you're getting 5% yield or something. Is that worth it? The like whatever risk you're taking there, like who knows what the smart contract risk or centralization risk with the way the whole system works. It's not worth it for 5%. If you're getting 100% yield on it, okay, maybe that's attractive, but like that there's red flags there as well, right? Because
scary.
Doesn't seem sustainable. So I would agree that it's going to be hard for these things to catch on. Like I, for one, like the Bitcoin that I hold, I don't know, I'm just leave it on the orange chain, just let it sit there forever.
So I might be kind of
like
stupid, but yeah, I mean, I I hold more Bitcoin on alt Bitcoins than I do on main chain Bitcoin, and that's largely because I've had issues in the past where, like, I'm kind of like I'm not a day trader, right? I'm just kind of stack and I hodl. But in previous cycles, when I had a decent bag of Bitcoin and I was ready to sell and part ways with it, it's a pain in the ass to have to like, all right, I got to deposit it onto a centralized exchange now. And then they also expect, I don't know, like 6 confirmations minimum. But then in addition to that, if you're dealing with like a high traffic period where everyone's selling, or where like, I don't know, just the chain is just congested and you have high fees, you might be like spending $50 to deposit onto a centralized exchange, which, maybe relative to your bag size isn't a big deal, but if you're just dealing with like a few $100, it does kind of suck. And then I think just like having to wait, knowing that you're kind of like in this congested period, you're waiting for 6 confirmations. It might take a little while to get all 6 of those, and by the time you do that, it's perhaps been an hour or two. you're ready for bed, you're ready to get out. You're like, man, I was just trying to sell this thing. Gotta get the kids to bed. Where it's extremely convenient for me to be able to like just get out when I want to get out through decentralized exchanges. And as long as you're like, I'm not trading in such giga size that like, I have to worry too much about depth on these AMMs and stuff like that on the decentralized exchanges and things like that. And they all have sufficient depth now across convex, across curve, across uni, verse, you name it. It's all there to let people easily get in from like TBTC back to stablecoin or stablecoin back into WBTC or whatever it is that you're kind of juggling. But being able to do that in fewer clicks and not having to wait for the confirmations and pay the exorbitant fees, it's nice.
Yeah, actually, I concur. I have a similar experience. Like the Bitcoin that I hold off of main chain Bitcoin, I see that as the Bitcoin that I will sell first when I try to time the Pico top of this cycle.
Yeah, I think you have to like make a concentrated effort to sell the L1 BTC, which I guess if you're in this like generational wealth play and you're saying, all right, this is my this is the Bitcoin I'm leaving my kids, then yeah, maybe L1's fine for
exactly. Exactly. And you don't want to risk that for like some 5% yield or like make it easy to trade. Yeah. All right. Anything else on this topic? Maybe let's stick with other Bitcoin predictions here while we're on the Bitcoin topic. David, do you have anything else on the Bitcoin front?
No, not about Bitcoin.
No,
that was it for me.
I've got maybe these are basic predictions, and I should say that everything that I say is basically stolen from others. So my prediction is that the Bitcoin ETFs will have, by the end of the year, over 300 billion of assets under management. So putting that in perspective, currently we're at about 110 billion. So that's a 3x or so from where we are now in assets under management. And the basis for this prediction is ETFs. The first year is always the slowest year. The flows ramp up after the first year. If you look at all the historical ETFs that have launched, like gold, for example, and so we got 110 billion in the first year. It stands to reason that the next year is going to be higher. Some of the reasons for that are it takes a while for the machinery of the TradFi system to like roll this out to all their like cogs in the machine, like all the registered retirement investment or whatever, like for them to like pitch it to their clients. That's one reason. It just takes time for that to happen. And the other reason is that people who already have an allocation, they just tend to increase that allocation slowly over time. So like it starts off with 1% of their portfolio, then it goes up the next year, maybe 2%. So yeah, I think that Bitcoin ETF flows are going to be more than what they were in 2024. So we'll end up with like 300 billion or something by the end of this year.
I agree. Can you add on to that anything about the ETH ETF?
Yeah, the ETH ETF I think will also do much better. It's been in the last few weeks been outperforming Bitcoin, and I think that's going to continue. People are they're underweight to not Bitcoin in the crypto space, and ETH is like the only way they can get access. So it's gonna, and same reasons, it takes a while for the suits to like make their pitches, and ETH, definitely. So that's going to be a big supporting factor for the price of ETH this year, is just the fact that the ETF.
I'm all about that. I agree.
One more Bitcoin prediction is that the number of countries like admitting that they hold Bitcoin will double from what it currently is. And we're going to get at least one country, sort of El Salvador level cheerleader, one more country
Do you think
like
we'll
that.
get like a top 10 country by
Well,
GDP?
my biggest fear is that it's like fucking North Korea or Iran or something, because that would not bode well for the narrative. Saudi Arabia, I guess that's okay. Uh, they've kind of been whitewashed. They're like, what's the word? Yeah, their reputation these days. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be like Germany uh, or anything like that. But I do think there will be maybe Brazil.
Yeah,
That would be
could
like
be.
a pretty good case. Or Argentina. All right. What's next?
I
Who's
can go
next?
into non-Bitcoin stuff if you want.
Okay, shall I move on from Bitcoin? All right, let's do
Well, I
it.
mean, if you wanted to,
Actually,
we can.
give me one more prediction here. Give me one
Yeah,
more.
go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a bit, and we did share a video on this, but I do think it's going to happen. Like, there's this strong desire for Bitcoin to become private, and there's a part of that Bitcoin community that wants private Bitcoin, and this has happened for years. There was, previous forks even of Bitcoin that were like Bitcoin private, and there was, different coin join technologies being built and different mixers that have gone out and come into fashion and then fallen out of fashion, and then people got arrested, and then Wasabi wallet, and there's this desire from crypto punks and crypto cypherpunks and all of the Bitcoin people that they want to be able to have Bitcoin, have exposure to Bitcoin, but not have the um like rectal exam of public blockchain to follow them everywhere they go. And I think with some of these privacy chains that are enabling privacy tokens, it is enabling the future for Bitcoin to be bridged into those private chains in the same way that Bitcoin is currently being bridged into Ethereum or Arbitrum or Optimism and being used in these Bitcoin layer 2s. That same technology can then be incorporated into privacy chains with their privacy tokens, which gain all of the native privacy of that underlying privacy chain. And thus you get privacy Bitcoin. Now you get privacy Bitcoin without the need for Bitcoin needing to upgrade, without Bitcoin needing to hard fork, without consensus needing to be formed from giga nerds through Bitcoin Core and creating campaigns to get people convinced. It's just an upgradable version to your asset. So the big one that we've been following closely has been Xano. So Xano has confidential assets, which is this ability for any token to be minted on Xano, and it also gets the privacy, the ring signatures, Monero level privacy of the native chains. So there is various parties working on this problem to both allow Bitcoin to be bridged over into those privacy chains, but also Ethereum and also other assets, including any other token on Ethereum. So I think those are going to be potentially quite interesting in 2025, given that there's so many people wanting that privacy, but failing to be able to access it without, I don't know, getting like beat up over it. I think this is potentially going to be one of those interesting things that'll develop over the next year. And we'll probably see a few different competing factors kind of try to tackle this problem. I think Xano is going to be one of the first, but I suspect there's going to be others, as there are a few other privacy chains that are working on similar problems. So it's just a matter of getting the right nerds into a room to kind of, build the bridge, build the mechanisms to incorporate that privacy and kind of give people that option to have the exposure to Bitcoin, the asset, while keeping completely anonymous.
Who do you think will actually adopt that? Because the reason I ask this question is because I personally would be scared to adopt it to use it with my Bitcoin, mainly just because we saw what happened with like Tornado Cash, for example. I don't know if it actually happened, but supposedly people who interacted with that may have had their addresses like blacklisted.
So
And
I
then
mean, I guess I can. I use Tornado, and I never got any addresses blacklisted. So I feel like that
okay.
was sort of. I don't know if that was fear mongering or if maybe I just haven't come. It could be that I don't interact enough with CEXs to feel that issue. Do you know what I mean? Where I haven't had a pop up saying like, "Hey,
When's
you did a bad boy thing. You shouldn't do that."
when's the
Uh,
last time you used it, Corbin?
Tornado.
I mean, yeah. Was it like this
Uh,
past year or after the sanction came in?
before the sanction,
Before the sanction. Okay, yeah.
before Rowan and all of those guys got nabbed up. Yeah. So I mean, I haven't had any issues. There's been zero repercussions. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be repercussions for doing that. And of course, like, depending on your country and things like that, frankly, a lot of countries see encryption and privacy as kind of like not an inherent right, which is kind of strange. But especially when you consider that like that cryptography is used to like secure your bank accounts and your photos online and Facebook,
Yeah.
all the other silly stuff that
So
like governments do. But yeah, like I personally I would use it, and I guess that's maybe because I look at, I guess, there's like some security risk, right, with anything. This goes back to even like Bitcoin proof or point of sale terminals and things like that. Like if you have a single receiving address and it's just holding a bunch, and anyone who's paying that merchant can sleuth and say, oh, I can see Bob the cafe has been accepting Bitcoin since 2015. Dude's sitting on 20 BTC. I mean, like, nice work. But also, if you were a bad guy, you might be saying, Bob the cafe owner sitting on 20 BTC. Let's get him. So, being able to have the opportunity to obfuscate your holdings, I think that's critical both for your personal security, but also I think just having that, like, people don't, it should be kind of opt-in for that type of thing. And I think the technology exists for users to take control of their, what they reveal publicly and what they want to keep privately. And I think that's, I don't think it's like one of those, what do you have to hide thing? It's more just like, it's something that should be kind of taught as kind of basic practice in crypto. It's like, yeah, you can have a ENS domain, alias thing to shorten your crypto addresses. Cool. They're fun. But you're also kind of exposing yourself so that everyone knows how much you hold. And yeah, I think just these privacy tools give people that freedom to kind of worry slightly less at night, that, their neighbors aren't going to track down how much they hold and, either judge them for, putting up a new fence saying, oh, it must be nice to have all the money to afford a fence, or, worse, the $5 wrench attack is always kind of a problem.
Yeah.
It's
totally
Go
agree
ahead.
it's needed. Totally agree that it's needed, but I just don't see how it'll be allowed.
I think it's one of those things where you can't stop it. Like, you can say it's not allowed, we don't like it, but if it's built in such a way that it's decentralized and it's built in such a way that the node operators are spread out around multiple countries, across regions, across jurisdictions, across people, across tech, across node infrastructure, a lot of these things just are kind of impossible to stop. And I kind of think that's one of the most exciting things about Bitcoin and crypto in general, is that there is no single, there's this idea like a missile, like it's the missile problem. Like if Bitcoin can be annihilated with 5 missiles from the US government, well, Bitcoin wasn't that decentralized to begin with, right? So it's sort of the same idea here, where if the privacy capabilities are sufficiently secure and decentralized, where even if a country doesn't like that you're doing it, it can't be stopped, well, then you naturally just will be able to use it because they can't regulate it. They can't go after it. The problem with something like Tornado Cash was that I think there was some centralized points of failure, namely like the client side, the user interface to actually interact with that. Those domains need to be registered to someone. And then in addition to that, I think there was some some issues with how they approached it, right? I think with something like Xano, which is a privacy coin and a privacy chain, the hybrid proof of work and proof of stake keeps it sufficiently decentralized across multiple regions. That alone is already allowed to exist, right? Like I'm sure they've been delisted from some CEXs like Monero, but I think in this day and age, the CEXs aren't as required as they were in previous cycles. And I think that's largely because of the decentralized exchange tech that's grown around crypto in general, that the price isn't determined by CEXs anymore. It's a hybrid of CEXs and DEX trade volume and things like that.
See, I think in the short term to medium term, these things can flourish and they should flourish. But again, I would say if you take this out, and I was trying to articulate this when we had the Xano guys on, you take this out on a longer horizon, it just doesn't seem to work to me from a government's perspective to let this kind of get too out of hand, because you get into things where people, it makes it really easy for people to avoid taxes. It makes it easy for people to move wealth almost in a way that's just kind of like threatens the existential nature of a government, right? Like a lot of their power comes
They'll
from
do everything
from this.
They'll do everything they can to stop it.
Yeah, if this actually becomes a thing that is used a lot, it just doesn't make sense to me that a government would really be okay with it. And the notion that that the government can't stop this is true on like one degree, as in, yeah, the tech is out there and they can't stop that. But what they can do, and what we've already seen them do, is they can stop the on ramps and the off ramps. And so all of this stuff is easy to stop from getting into a fiat or a stable coin. And the stable coin providers are more than willing to work with authorities to censor or pause or block any kind of money going in and out of. So like, for example, if you have some uncensorable money that's getting, exchanged and whatever, but then they want to, you want to realize profits, or you want to buy a car, you want to do something in the real world, suddenly you're going to be met with this, the modern panopticon, and be like, where's this money coming from? You got to do something, and it's from this uncensorable thing. Well, we got a real problem with you now, and I don't know what they're going to do in terms of that. So yeah, I see either two things happening. These things don't work, which I actually don't believe. I think they will work, because I believe what you're saying, Corbin, and I love these privacy coins. Monero is like one of my first loves of crypto, and I've used it a lot. But then if they become successful, I see a fight down the road that crypto just can't win. And other people feel differently. Like I was talking with the editor-in-chief of Bitcoin Magazine. He was like, no, we have to win. And so I guess I'm more pessimistic.
Yeah, I guess I see it as like, whether we like it or not, the government is going to take opinions, or different parts of the government. You're going to have the US have one opinion, you'll have Canada take another opinion, you'll have the UK probably take whatever the lamest, most beta opinion can be. The UK will take that one. And all of those are going to amount to just this like slew of opinions being formed around what's good and what's bad about, say, privacy coins, or some of this tech that is being built and is on its way. There's going to be some people banging the drum that this is financial terrorism. And then there's going to be some people banging the drum that this is financial freedom fighters. And I think at the end of the day, who wins, it's going to be like, who's got the best team? Who's got the most to win? Who's got the maximum upside? Who cares the most? I would posit that the freedom fighters are always going to care the most. And go back, I don't know, historically, the home team advantage plays in its favor quite a bit. You look at Vietnam, US had every reason to win. They had the money, the power. I'm sure, every VC that was coming out blowing stuff up, they were breaking some laws according to their local government, or they were breaking laws according to the US government, or some sort of, panopticon war treaty. You can't do those things. Those are bad things to do. But they won. They beat the shit out of the US. They left, tail between the legs, gone. And I think the freedom fighters around privacy and crypto have a lot more of the home team advantage than the US does, or than other government entities have. And I think the other thing is that they have the power of longevity that governments typically don't. There's always just change of guard occurring in different government organizations, where whether it's a 4-year vote cycle or a parliamentary democracy that eventually changes guard, at some point, the party loses interest. And that leaves the home team advantage and the people who care and the people who are dug in, trench warfare style, to come out on top.
Amen.
All right, wait, hold on. Let me just do one last thing, and then because this is a huge thing, and I've talked with a lot of crypto people about this for a long time, so I don't want to get too bogged down in it. But I think this whole argument often it gets so the whole idea of like whether taxes are good or not kind of, I think, is central to this argument. And I think a lot of modern people, a lot of people our age, that they don't believe in taxes, and they think that it's bad. And so crypto has been often used to kind of avoid taxes and stuff like this. But I think that is really just that's a sad part of disillusionment of our institutions. And you need taxes, and you need a group of people to kind of submit to a shared set of values. And I worry that these kinds of privacy schemes can really kind of tear apart that fabric of shared responsibility, because it becomes so easy to hide your wealth and to give a fair portion of what you owe to your society. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to opt out, and you want to be a sovereign individual and kind of, I don't know, go live in Congo and be a little warlord, I guess that privacy coins work. But if you want to be part of a functioning first world country with sewage and transportation and garbage collection and stuff like that, you have to allow, and you implicitly agree to be a contributing member. And I think if these privacy coins get really, really big, which they could and they should, you kind of run into this idea of how does the government then accurately collect what is owed them and what you have kind of implicitly kind of signed up for by living in one of these awesome countries. And if you don't, then the country falls apart. And so, yeah, that's what worries me on the long term. Yeah.
For it to actually work, you need a complete reworking of how the tax system works and what the social contract is, really, for this to actually, to actually be private money and private and uncensorable free money in the world. It requires like unfathomable changes to our society, almost.
Yeah, it is funny. Our producer's laughing at you right now, because it does seem like David's now the Democrat amongst us, which is very much not typical to any conversation.
No way.
That I think is ever happening. He's just like, what, taxes
aren't
so bad. Actually, I like sewage.
No.
I like having my sewage dealt with.
I'm saying you got to like buck up. You can't be like this, like Che Vergara, like communists.
Yeah.
You gotta pay. You gotta do your part. You gotta be a
Well,
part of
yeah,
a country.
I don't disagree there. I think that I think though that in some ways the privacy coin side of stuff doesn't interfere with I mean it could. You could take that position that you don't need to do anything, right? Because they don't know anything. And that of
Well, let
course
me.
would scare some people. But I think right now you can already like if even if you don't touch crypto and you're just some normie from Canada and you're like, "Hey, I just don't want to pay as much taxes because I don't know, Trudeau sucks." You know, he might be Castro's kid. Um, cool. You can already kind of tinker with the system, and the system allows you to tinker within some means. And you can do investments, you can do offshore banking, you can do tax planning, you can move money into an estate, you can move money into a nonprofit, you can move, there are all these creative ways to just avoid having to do that. So I guess my take is more that like the privacy coins don't necessarily stop people from doing things that are bad, and they technically can't. But I don't think they encourage people to do things that are bad. I think it's more like there's, if you want to take the position that you're not paying your taxes is bad, I don't think it necessarily makes it more redeemable to do so, if that makes sense. I think it's more like bad people are going to do bad things. Good people are going to do good things. You can still use privacy tech and be a good boy and fill out your T4s and pay your taxes, and you know what? Pay more than your share of taxes because you love the government so much. If you really like, your local politicians, why don't you give them extra? You love it so much. But you can do all of those things still while having some anonymity on your crypto holdings. Now, most tax systems are kind of self-reported. Very few, I think maybe like some northern Baltic European countries might automatically pull your taxes from your bank account, sort of thing, based on your income. But largely most nations are like self-reported tax income. So it's like, how much did you make this year? Okay, you know the tax rate, and unless you get audited, you're not really going to get beat up over it. You should assume you could get audited, or you would get audited, and eventually, if they were to see that you were doing some problem or some bad boy things, you might be in trouble. But like I don't think that privacy tech stops good people from, paying their way and supporting their community and things like that. Good people are still going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the government will just take us at our word.
Yeah. We would never obfuscate the truth in crypto. That's not something we would ever do.
We should return to this topic later. I want to get into this.
Yeah, I mean, we're being recorded now, so I'm sure you're all going to be audited next year. So good luck.
Yeah. No, I love this topic. It's one of my little hobby horses in crypto. But yeah,
I worry about you Americans, David. I do.
Yeah, why is that?
It's the IRS. It's like
yeah, it's pretty
it's like
pretty severe.
Agent from the Matrix.
I mean, Canadians aren't a whole lot better.
I worry about young people like my age and younger who they spend a lot of time thinking about how they can avoid paying taxes, because to me that's a worrisome sign of societal degradation. It's a sign that society is no longer thinking about their fellow citizen. They're out to.
I would take the
for
opposite,
themselves.
where I think it's actually a sign that the government's taking too much. If people are saying, I need to squirrel more money away and find creative games to play to avoid paying too much, it means they're taking too much.
Well,
right?
I think it's involved, Corbin. I would agree. I think it's the sad thing is like I was trying to allude to earlier, the government has done a poor job at making people feel that their money is being spent well, and the trust in institutions is low. So yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that.
Well, on the topic of taxes, Graham, maybe you should bring up this tweet.
Yeah.
So, it's the end of the year. Was the end of the year. People were coming up with as many creative ways to, file losses, come up with whatever schemes are needed to ensure that their end of year taxable year wasn't so bad. So maybe I'll let you read that.
Yes, hello, IRS. So, client bought $7,000 worth of Rocket and staked it for 3 months to earn 69,000% interest. Then they sold and took the profits to invest in NFTs. But of course, the dev rugged the project and they only managed to liquidate 10% of the funds. Question is, can the client deduct gas fees for the minting and balance out the short-term capital gains taxes from the cummies? Hello?
Yep. So Elon Musk is sharing this. I mean, clearly we know that the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, is trying to simplify government and remove waste. And yeah, the reality is crypto and degenerate crypto is an impossible task to tax, given that the tax codes were written, over decades ago, when, Rocket and Doge was not a cryptocurrency being traded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need a whole new paradigm
Yeah.
for how taxes are paid. And, this gets in straight into like a post-scarcity world. Things are changing quickly, and the tax, there's who knows how this is going to evolve.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right, let's let's get into some other predictions.
All right, we're running late, right? So I can just
we're over time here.
I'll bang out two in a row just to go quickly. The first is an easy layup, so I'm embarrassed to even talk about it, so I'll do it quickly. AI times crypto is going to be the meta of the year, I think, 2025.
Yeah.
That'll be the biggest segment, the largest increasing segment. It'll capture the imagination of everyone in crypto and then spill out into the mainstream. I think it's the thing that will kind of bring crypto back to the mainstream. I don't think we're quite there yet, honestly. I don't think we've seen an influx of retail come in. But once this kind of AI crypto crap really starts, not crap, but AI crypto thing really starts to kind of push people's imagination, it'll be out there on whatever it is, NBC News and this kind of stuff, and it'll start to bring in lots of people. So I think this is the big play of the year. This is the DeFi summer of our cycle, or the DeFi/DeFi summer segment of our cycle. So I would position for that. What is the market cap of AI crypto right now? Is like three billion or something. I think I've seen that number thrown around.
What I'm seeing on cookies.fun is here, I'll bring this up real quick. This is the new data platform for AI agents, right? And it's showing that the total market cap of AI agents is 17.42 billion thus far. And it's tracking 857 agents right now.
Yeah, I would probably, I don't know if you could, anyway, whatever it is, I'd see it 10x from here easily, right? Probably
so 200
20x,
billion.
200 billion, 400 billion, talking about peak mania. Something like that, probably an easy 10x though. And then within the AI crypto meta, predictions would be pick and shovels will do really well. I think AI agents right now, I think there's only really one. There's only one good AI agent. And then for the other sectors, I don't really have any idea because none of them they all look like vaporware at this point. So I don't know about that.
So what does picks and shovels look like in the AI agent meta?
Right. So you have two platforms. It ties closely in with which chains do you think are going to dominate this AI stuff? I think the safe predictions are going to be Base because they were early to it, and then Solana just because it's kind of the darling of this cycle, I would say. and then you have, and for those you have virtuals on base as a picks and shovel play, and then A16Z, AI16Z
Okay, so
on Solana.
those forms of picks and shovels, that form of infrastructure, virtuals and AI16Z, these are like the pump.funds for agents. They enable you to agents no code.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And there's I think at least with AI16Z, there's a lot of dev effort to help build out the infrastructure and make it even easier. So
okay, so that's infrastructure for launching the actual agents. Is
yeah.
there any other infrastructure that we should be thinking about?
At this point, I personally don't have any predictions on anything else.
Well,
I don't know.
so
Do you?
I think that at some point the AI agent meta is going to move into what are the LLMs? You know, like they're quite centralized. So at what point do you get these decentralized LLMs? And some of them are open source. So you could say that they're already somewhat decentralized, but I suspect a lot of these AI agents are just running on good old, you know, OpenAI GPT 3.5 or 4.0 or whatever. Not exactly the most permissionless LLM that could potentially be scrutinized or censored. You know, if your AI agent is saying too many naughty words or is too degenerate, perhaps you know, the open AI gods wave their hand and block the API key and say, nah, we don't want you touching ours. You're too weird. So yeah, I suspect there could be some things being built around that aspect. Yeah, I mean, I still think that, like, you know, we've seen an AI agent make over what I think Goat was the first one, right? Goat CS Maximus, the Truth Terminal ended up holding, I think, over, was it $10 million? And then I think it kind of bled out. I think there's been some predictions that we're going to see some AI agents hold, you know, 10x that at some point. I mean, I suspect an AI agent will get rugged at some point by either its human meat puppet or by its community in some aspect. And yeah, I'd hope that we see some of those AI agents, if and when that happens, that they are somehow able to run it back. You know, a little comeback kid story for an AI would be fun. But yeah, I think
Also, AI agents are likely to be rugging people as well. I think we're going to see a big rug from an AI agent, like a bad actor AI agent, fully autonomous, just like, well, got it, sealed the bag.
Yeah. What's going to be funny though is that you don't know which ones, because once it happens once, it's encoded, right? So like every AI agent coin you interact with, unless you're able to verify, kind of in the same way, like proof of funds, proof of ownership, transparency, the code, how it's built. And then it's like, how many people are actually going to do that? And maybe this becomes a new tag in cookies.fun where it's like, how many have been audited by, like, I don't know, some sort of AI agent group security thing to say it's probably fine to invest or purchase. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have one prediction on AI agents. I think, or I guess it's two part. I think number one is, I think over the course of the year, you'll see AI agents who just kind of talk and don't really do anything. That kind of KOL agent thing is already almost saturated now, and it's kind of maybe almost peaked. And I think the AI agent play of the year is an AI agent that basically acts as an intermediate for you to handle your crypto. Right. So it'll be like some of these videos coming out, which are complete vaporware, but it'll get to that point soon where you'll, instead of just having to sign into these various protocols and stuff like that, DeFi protocols, you'll basically do it through the agent. Right. So you'll say, buy me whatever, and then it'll go into your Hyperliquid account on the L2 or L1 and do it for you.
Increase my P&L. Just pump, just make me money. Like, who doesn't want that? I mean, or like stepping back for a minute, because AI agents, of course, are doing things outside of crypto already. Okay? And like, I think we need to consider that, because eventually, maybe this year, maybe next year, AI agents are going to be doing things like buying your plane tickets, sourcing your software, using your software for you, like finding the software, using it, spitting out an end product for you. They're just going to be doing all the things that you do in your daily life, and they're going to be like the best secretaries ever, right? Now, that's going to be happening outside of crypto, and in crypto, because they're empowered with money, like, and because there's like this hot ball of money moving around in crypto, it seems like an AI agent that can make you money it's just gonna explode.
But I mean, it could explode for a little bit, but then you get into the same problem that you have in any kind of market, which is once you have an edge, the edge disappears quickly when other people also have that edge, and so then it stops being an edge, and so then then you're back at a point where there is no edge, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like that if that won't spread, because what would happen is it'd be like it'd be like with quant trading, like these high frequency trading things. They don't share their algorithms. They don't share their the intricacies of how they make money, because that's how they make money. And the second it gets out, they don't make money anymore. I think what you will see before you will in the real world, though, is this kind of automation of crypto, because there's such a need for it. Crypto is so clunky. It's so unintuitive. DeFi, right? And I think AI is the real way to get around this kind of almost seems like baked in unintuitive stuff, right? Like paying for gas,
just be a layer to simplify your experience.
Yeah, and that could be the thing that really becomes important for crypto to have is like an AI layer to deal with all this shit that we've been dealing with for years, and we've gotten used to. But most people will not now, sign up for that.
What about AI agents or swarms of AI agents that basically just like create a company and start whatever it is, developing software, like managing an e-commerce company or anything like that? Just have a company. It's a swarm of AI agents, right? And they're, I guess, empowered by crypto because that they don't have an ID, but they're not restrained by that in the crypto world. So crypto just becomes the rails that they do their transactions on. But what they really are is just a company that's making tons of money. Is that going to happen?
Tons of money doing what? Tons of money doing what?
Doing anything, like any type of business. Could be I don't know, making concrete.
I mean, the AI
it's going to be harder for them to do a real world business like that. So it's going to have to start in the software realm. But let's say an AI agent develops some software, like an enterprise software,
like a copywriter or like a marketing role.
Yeah, or like HubSpot. They clone HubSpot. Right?
They're coming for all of us, guys.
Right?
I don't know.
And
like some sort of CEO role of a.
They do all the marketing for it. They develop the software. They do all the marketing
role of a crypto company. But Graham, you've worked with this stuff.
Could manage Bitcoin.com completely without.
I don't know. I still think. I mean, you work with AI every day. It's slop. It really is just slop. And like I said,
it's gonna get so much better.
But is it really? I mean, like for me, I know I've shilled this before, but like AI XBT, right? It's an AI agent, but it really isn't. It isn't. It's a team that has made an awesome database, right? Like spent years making a database, and then there's like a retarded AI interface on top that is able to intelligently kind of interact with the database, which is where the real money is.
Yeah, so the
AI agent itself is nothing. It's slop. Yeah.
For this year, maybe the data itself is the real infrastructure play. That we need to figure out how to monetize that, or where the investments are in enabling AI agents to access data, and in order for the AI agents to actually be good.
Yeah, exactly. And so the AI agent itself, the AI, the neural net, is just it's just like the normal slop that we see online and that we that we help write, or I help write every day. That it's just not very imaginative and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, but things are evolving quickly. Like I've seen this experiment, Spore.fun. Basically, it's an AI that breeds, and through genetic like through passing on, it's when like basically if the thing that launches makes money, then the next iteration copies that. If it doesn't make money, the next iteration, that bloodline of that AI's DNA dies out. And so this might evolve really quickly into suddenly you have like these actually like really good money making AIs, because they're fully like they're breeding autonomously.
Well, we should get in more to this later because I want to hear more about this. But
Yeah, tell
it
me more
seems
about
to
these AI breeding.
it's it seems to me though that is still like so derivative, and at some point, when too many people start to play that game, it just kind of collapses, right? Like, anyway. So I want to know more, to see how I understand it. But
Yeah, I don't really know more beyond.
like, how is it making money? Is it just like tied to an X account? Is that how it is? Trying to get engagement? This kind of thing. Is it actually making trades? Is it making trades? I've
Yeah,
seen a
these are
couple.
good. These are all good questions.
I saw. So I've been doing a little research, and I saw like this one AI agent that I did a little deep dive on that was getting some. I'm not going to name it, but it was making trades anonymously, and so it was publishing the trades it made and why it made those trades, and it was just the dumbest stuff I've ever seen. It was like opened up a position on ETH, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Why? And then it quote tweeted why, and it was like somebody saying something like the market cap of stacks on Bitcoin L2 is this. That's not a reason to open up a position.
I noticed the same thing this morning. Really dumb, but this is the dumbest they'll ever be. They're just going to get better, and they're going to iterate so much faster than humans.
Yeah,
they don't sleep.
But then it's an arms race, right? Like, because they can proliferate. And anyway, so you can get into that, like how you would do that. But yeah.
I think.
Can I move on to my next prediction real quick? Okay.
Can I interrupt? One other prediction I have on the agent meta is that an agent will get so rich through its trading that the SEC is going to come after it, and they're going to come after the creator. But if whoever does this, the smart way to do it, you have to make it like completely detached from your like the creator. You have to be like, no, I don't profit from this. The AI profits from this, and it's gonna break governments' heads. They're not going to know what to do with this. They're going to try to come after an AI agent that made a lot of money, and they're not going to know what to do. Yeah, that's my prediction. All right, go on.
Seems. I mean, I got nothing to comment on. I kind of agree. Why wouldn't they go after it? I think they would probably treat it like some sort of like corporation, though. They'd file it as like, well, this is like, it's a corporate thing. It's not. It was an unregistered corporate entity created by the creator, and therefore the corporation owns back taxes. I'm giving them the playbook here. I shouldn't be doing
that. Yeah, I mean, I think what you see often in like IP law and different things like this or law in general, is you try to like analogize it to something else you've already done. And I think the easy one to do it if you're like this is structure it like a corporate tax structure or something like that, right? Because those are I think legally individuals, aren't they? right? They have tax IDs and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I think there are decent ways to kind of put it within the framework. It'll need some adjustments, but I think you could do it like that, because ultimately, I mean, unless the AI creator is like super hardcore and the creator doesn't have keys to it, it is like
Yeah.
tied to somebody, right?
Well, I mean, that's going to be the tricky
Yeah,
part, right? If an AI agent
exactly. You
is
have
the
to
one that
launch it so it's
generated
not
the
tied to you.
seeds, and it
Yeah.
totally, like the creator is like, dude, even if I wanted to pay the taxes, I couldn't. I don't control that wallet. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, then, I
all
mean,
the
you can't
wealth
do
is
anything.
accruing
Yeah.
to the AI agent, right? And what is the AI? The AI agent doesn't exist in the world.
Well, and it
Doesn't
doesn't
have a
exist within a country, right? Like it's not a registered thing, so it's
doesn't have
not.
an address.
I mean,
How
I guess you
how
could say
can it
where's
pay
it
taxes?
hosted? Where is it hosted? Okay, it's AWS. Oh, it's US East. Oh, it's a New York citizen there, Bucko. We gotta, and then you could have some IRS asshole hop on the infinite backrooms and negotiate with this AI to be like, dude, you owe me, and then it's gonna be like, I disagree.
I mean,
Yeah,
the other
this is
thing you
going to
could
be
do is
fascinating.
you could tax it on the other side, as in like if it tries to buy or sell something that it doesn't have under its control, you could set up something where it has to be taxed. But again, that's way down the
Yeah.
line,
See,
coming from that
exactly.
address.
This is where like a total overhaul of the tax system eventually needs to happen in this like brave new world that we're creating.
I kind of love it, guys.
Yeah.
The fact that there's like it's complete chaos. So, and the fact that there's going to be some, just dickheads in a boardroom in some fluorescent lit, tax government office of some country, and they're going to be like, ugh, they did it again. They changed it up on us. We almost had them. And I kind of love the fact that there's going to be some seething people that like get this close to getting a new rule through, and then it's like the whole game changes again, and they got to redo it again, and it's funny to me. It gives me joy.
Think about the scary thing. What happens when the government gets a hold of like tier 1 AI tax agents? Because that will also happen. And so this thing that you were talking about, Corbin, which is true, that, oh yeah, unless you're audited, you don't really get fucked with very much. Oh, that's going to go out the door. That's going to go out the door.
Like the
There's
audits
going to
are
be
default.
like, oh, dude, it's going to be Superman auditors for every single individual, and it's going to check every detail. You're just going to be, and that's definitely coming, right? Like, because that'll also be
80,000 IRS agents that were hired. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
That's nothing.
They're all going to be replaced by.
Wait till you get like a super hyper AI agent.
Exactly.
Yeah, we definitely don't need privacy coins, do we, David?
Oh man, that's funny.
All right, I've pretty much shot my load. What else you got, David?
All right, I got two more. So the second one is I do believe it's going to happen, but it's very pro America. So fuck you guys. Crypto in the U.S. will rise. Maybe even taking the number one spot in the world in terms of crypto development. I think this is the year that the U.S. is going to just jump forward. It's been a laggard for past couple of years, and now with Trump in office, crypto regulation probably is going to get streamlined and become as clear as it is in other jurisdictions. Boom, you're just gonna have this explosion in the US this year. Different predictions within this would be something like I think conferences in the US, right? Crypto conferences in the US are going to be huge. I think, what is it? The Bitcoin conference in Vegas this year, I think is just going to be this insane event. So I imagine that's going to be huge. Businesses will be, I think, returning to the U.S. or starting in the U.S. a lot. I imagine New York will see a lot of business, which is, I think, a terrible thing. I think New York is kind of a hellscape right now, so kind of makes me sad. But then, yeah, miners, I think, will do really well in the U.S. this year. So there's that. And then politically, obviously, this is an easy one. You'll just see massive reforms, crypto-related political reforms. So U.S. is going to be bigly this year through crypto. And then the last one I have is I've been wrong about this. Not wrong, I guess, but not as right as I thought I would be. I think NFTs will continue to eat into mindshare. I think you're already starting to see the beginnings of this in the past like month and a half. I've been saying this all year, but I think NFTs have been beaten down so much. You started to see them come back with what's called Pudgy Penguins and a couple other launches. But I think this trend will continue into 2025. I think I've already started to read like thought pieces by people, reasonably significant people talking about the inherent kind of good points of NFTs versus meme coins. And so I think you'll see this trend up even more into 2025. I think NFTs will have a banner year, and it won't be this kind of like crappy speculation that you saw last cycle. This will be more thoughtful, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing NFTs in a more mature form. Obviously, there'll be speculation, but I think you'll see NFTs kind of become NFTs and NFT businesses become seen for what they can be, which is like legit businesses, IP businesses, things like that.
So we're not talking about PFP collections.
It can start off that way, right? Like you look at like Mad Lads. I don't know if you know that Solana one, Mad Lads. They those people rolled it into a wallet. They rolled it, and then after that into a centralized exchange. So I mean, and then Pudgy Penguins is another great example. They've rolled it into merchandise, basically their IP stuff. When I was in America, I saw it, which is crazy. I saw this stuff in real life. I was like, what the fuck? And it's anyways, and they're making a video game now. So I don't know. I think the meme coin domination of 2024 really kind of beat down NFTs more than not than they should have been, but it was now they're undervalued, a lot of them, and you'll start to see this kind of swing back, and people are going to be like, oh, meme coins are great, but they're also a little crap, and the communities that build around meme coins are way looser, right? It's much easier to dump and run. There's less cohesion, and less of an intrinsic business.
Yeah, I will say this, like when you buy an NFT and hold it like a PFP picture, it's hard. It's just harder. It's just hard to sell that. Like if you have two, it's easier to sell. Maybe you're like, oh, I still got one. There's something really sticky about NFTs. Like you really feel like you own them because they're not fungible.
Yeah. And there's like IP there. There's like built-in IP, right? There's a built-in ethos and everything around it. Like you look at Milady, and then they released a coin Colts. You look at Pudgy Penguins and the release of Pengu. You're starting to see the kind of this business model emerge where you have I think a viable business and the community as an extension of that business.
Okay, I think that's a bold prediction. Nice one, David. All right, last chance, you guys, for predictions for the year. Otherwise, we'll move into our price predictions and then wrap things up here. All right. Let's start off with Bitcoin. So we're each going to give our prediction for the high for the year, the low for the year, and what the price will be at the end of the year. I'll start it off. I'm going to say Bitcoin tops out at 195K with a low of 89. So and that's probably going to happen, let's say March. We're going to dip to 89. And the high will be towards the end of the year, 195. We're going to end the year at 110. Those are my predictions.
This kind of means you don't think that there's going to be a Bitcoin reserve, right? That means kind of tied to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
No, I mean you're predicting. No, kind of in.
This assumes no U.S. Bitcoin reserve. Exactly.
Well, no, but it also it assumes that you think there isn't going to be one, most likely, right?
Yes. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's kind of more bullish because we're not relying on the hopium of the Bitcoin. Without the Bitcoin reserve, I still think we get to 195.
So I mean, I had this conversation with someone recently, and it's like, well, who do you think is, the administration going to be more beholden to? The crypto people that helped get him into office, or the bankers? And I don't know the answer to that. Part of me wants to hope that there's a true care for, like, you know, your base, your supporters. But the bankers got a lot of sway, you know.
Yeah, and what if those two
Yeah.
groups of people are actually the same?
H1B. Let's not even go there.
we got to save that one for next week.
But it's kind of a preview is what I'm thinking. So Corbin, I was thinking about that, the same thing you were talking about a lot through this H1B thing. But anyway, we'll save that. But yeah, I 100% wonder what's your take? I mean, banker or crypto, which do you think he's gonna?
I don't want to admit that I think we're already in a panopticon, and I think the banking elite already call the shots. I'm a tinfoil hat wearing, like, we're already in jail. We're in a prison planet. You know, I'm a little bit more on that side of things. I don't necessarily believe that, you know, your vote truly counts. Do you know what I mean? I'm more of like, there's powers that be and people in play that have more sway and opinion than the average voter and even a combined mass of voters. So when it comes down to brass tacks, it's kind of like, who butters your bread? You know, who's who's calling the shots? Is it the voting mass or is it the elite? And I don't know, man. Truth is always stranger than fiction. So I think reserve is great in theory. Is it going to be allowed unless it supports their plans? I don't see it happening. But if it supports their plans, I definitely see it happening. That would be my take. So I guess in terms of price prediction, it's probably somewhat similar to grams. I think there's kind of, I can't give a firm number because I think it, on one hand, you could take the bull scenario, everything goes according to plan. We got the first Bitcoin president. It's a smooth sail. Everyone's healthier. We got RFK in. We got, you know, we got big pharma being held accountable to some of the nasty things they did over the past few years. We got government, you know, corruption being, you know, hung out to dry, sunlight, the best disinfectant. You know, I want to see a couple heads roll that were clearly up to no good during the past 4 years. Great. That would be an awesome, you know, cherry on top to, say, 4 years of complete chaos in the Biden administration. But is it going to happen that way? No. It's probably going to be like negotiations and backroom deals and, well, I'm not going to come after you, but you got to support me over here. And everything's muddy. Nothing is black and white. Nothing's crystal clear. And I don't know if we're going to get a just the hyper bull scenario. It's always going to be a mix of some bullish, some bearish, and you kind of end up splitting the difference somewhere in the middle. So I don't think 200 is baked in. I don't think you're going to see a 200K Bitcoin. I think we'll be lucky if by the end of the year, 2025, maybe see $150. I'm kind of in that range. And then, yeah, probably be pulling back 70, 80K eventually.
All right. Yeah, I have 80 as my low, and I would split the difference between you guys and say 175, maybe a high. I think we could get 175 if we get like a soft Bitcoin reserve, as in he comes out and says we're not selling the Bitcoin we've confiscated. So I think that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that's my base case as well. They're just not going to sell. That'll be the soft Bitcoin reserve. All right, moving on to ETH. Does someone else want to go first?
I guess I will. We're not hitting 10K. That's the meme. 10K is the meme. I don't think we're hitting 10K. I would say, I guess 7,500. And then the low 3, 2.8, something like that.
And end of year.
Oh God, end of year. Where we'll end the year. The high is not going to be the end of the year for any of this stuff. So maybe end of Q2, beginning of Q3, and then down.
Is the high, yeah. And how are we going to end the year? Somewhere between the low and the high?
I would say, yeah, somewhere between. Yeah, probably like 5 or 6. It won't be that. It won't go down as much because of the ETF inflows. So it won't be as steep of a drawback. And it honestly has to make up a lot of ground. So I personally wouldn't imagine that the pullback on ETH would be as bad as a lot of other things, including Solana. I think Solana will pull back a lot.
Yeah. I'm a bit more bullish on ETH because of the ETF flows. So I'm going to say 8K for the high, and 4K. It'll end the year 4 to 5K. We're probably not going to dip much lower than what we are right now for ETH.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in like probably like 7K top 2025. That'd be my ballpark guess, and maybe 3K bottom on ETH.
Okay, last one, Solana. You want to go first, Corbin?
Man, I think what are we at right now in Solana?
210.
Yeah,
208.
I mean, I think it's easily could pull like an $800 2025. I don't see why it wouldn't.
4x.
Right? Yeah, you got a nice pump probably still left to go on Solana, but I think it could pull back sub 100 for sure. I just think it all kind of depends on how the meme cycle and the AI agent cycle develops. If Base and some of these other chains can just gobble up more of the mind share from like the picks and shovels perspective, if things become easier on EVM or on other chains, I think that those users on Solana, I would say a huge amount of them are transient. Like they're not just on Solana for Solana. They're just there for the pumps, and they'll follow the pumps wherever they may go.
Yep. So it really depends on how Solana evolves with the AI agent meta, I guess, and whatever other metas take the top for the year.
Yeah.
So my prediction was max 1K, $1,000, and it'll end the year at 400. So of the three, I think Solana will have the best performance between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Yeah, I have 1K as the top two. The meme I think could actually will actually work. I think this, and I think the pullback could be as severe as touching where the previous all-time high, right? So 200 and 260, right? Like because I think a lot of it is this is the coin that's gonna be overvalued. This of the top three, it's going to be way overvalued. I think when retail comes in, they're going to want to stay on one chain. They're not going to want to do any kind of like bridging or anything like that. And I think Solana is going to be where it's going to be at, and so you'll see a lot of mind share that way. And so they'll stay there. The memes will be there. We'll have a meme come back at some point. It'll be stupid, and it'll go up that much, and then it'll pull way the heck back.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for your predictions. I'm really looking forward to the end of the year where we go back and look at our predictions and how they went. This will be the first time we've done that, so it's going to be awesome. Thanks
I
everyone for
predict we're
listening.
very wrong.
Yeah, that's a safe bet, I think.
I don't know, guys. We were pretty right on Fartcoin. I mean, like we
right.
probably undervalue our opinion because we know most of our opinions are nonsensical. But when we're right, man.
All right, let's continue the streak here. We'll keep making sure we bring Fartcoin to the top of every episode. Make sure we mention that.
Got to pump my bags, guys. Hot air rises.
Yeah. Don't hold your farts forever, though. I would say.
We'll see.
Yeah, you don't want to hold those farts in, man. It can cause some bloating issues.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.